Hi and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to recap a movie from the Equalizer series Part 3. Released in the year 2023. Sit back and enjoy the movie and please don't forget to subscribe. An old man named Lorenzo Vitali with his grandson is driving to a village. They both when came to the destination they saw a dead body on the way to the entrance. They get into a villa where a man is guarding the place with a gun. Lorenzo takes his gun and leaves while the boy stays in the car. The guard stammers tells Lorenzo about the villa's condition which he seems to be afraid of something. They both go in and see a man been brutally killed by a machete. Inside of the villa they see multiple dead bodies of men. They go to the basement where a man is being held captive on gunpoint. His name is Robert McCall. Lorenzo talks in Italian with Robert, he threatens him for his cause. Robert tells him that he has something for which he had came here. He turns on the timer for 9 seconds telling them to decide their fate. Meanwhile, he manages to brutally kill everyone within a matter of a few seconds. Robert kills Lorenzo and takes his key, and leaves the villa. He comes out holding a bag, he sees the young boy and points his gun to scare him off and leaves. Lorenzo's grandson had his own gun which he manages to shot Robert dead. Robert fires his bullets out while the young boy escapes after shooting him. Robert is safe but couldn't shoot the boy and let him escape. As of his shot, Robert tries to take suicide but he had fired all his bullets. Robert takes the ferry to go to the mainland being injured. After a while, a stranger on his way finds Robert in a near-to-death condition out of his unconsciousness. He brings Robert to a doctor who manages to operate him and save his life. When Robert wakes up, he says he was headed home and runs for it, but the doctor, named Enzo Arizio, who tells him to rest for his wounds to be healed first. The man seems to be a nice person as he takes good care of Robert. After 3 days, Robert leaves the house early in the morning out for a walk. He walks in the streets where he seems suspicious as he might be under the eyes by the people and the cameras. He goes in the restaurant where he meets with a police officer named Giovanni, the man who saved Robert in the night. Gio gives him his car's keys and tells him that he haven't looked what his bags had in the car. After some time, the CIA officer Collins receives a call telling them about a location, without revealing who is calling them. Robert informs about the crates of wine imported from Syria to the team to physically inspect the location anonymously so he could not be revealed. After the call, Robert turns his phone off so he couldn't be determined by the CIA. Collins visits the place by satellite and informs her team. On the next day, Robert goes to the city and does some shopping. On returning, he goes by a fish shop and feels strange about the place. Inside the shop, Marco Quaranta beats up the shop owner for delaying some rent. Robert hears it and remains calm so he could not be suspected while he is being watched. When the people left the place, Robert kept looking at them as they leave. Later on, Vincent Quaranta, another mafia leader, is trying to convince to take the building for his construction. Since they don't accept his approval, the family is tortured for their refuse. Marco comes to Vincent as they both are brothers, where Marco sees the family's member is thrown out hanging. Vincent charges Marco to empty the place and leaves. Later on, the CIA team is investigating the villa where the violent confrontation had taken its place. They find every detail correct but they find many suspicious things in the place including money, drugs and dead bodies. Frank, Colin's supervisor, is also suspicious about the anonymous helper. Meanwhile, Vincent calls his brother to partake in his business, putting pressure on the town so that they could make hotels and casinos. They would want to take over the coast. On the other hand, Robert packs his stuff and manages to finally leave the place. He sees people rushing away. Angelo, who was the owner of the fish shop, sees his shop burning down to the ground. Robert comes to check on him, and sees Marco from distance. Robert was about to leave but he stays to help Angelo for the day. Meanwhile, Giovanni investigates about the incident. Amina, who is the waitress in the restaurant, appears to start liking Robert. She invites Robert for dinner. They go to the food street as promised to spend quality time. Days gone by, and Robert becomes a part of the town, as he has become one of them living happily. Robert meets with Collins in the restaurant where they both introduce to each other. At the school of his daughter, Giovanni receives a call. He becomes scared and asks the teacher about his daughter. She tells that one police officer took her with him. Giovanni runs all the way to his home where he is threatened and gets beaten up. They do it because he calls the Italian police department about the fire at the shop. For his medication, Gio comes to Dr. Enzo. Robert sees him and asks him from the doctor. He tells about the Camorra Mafia. The two brothers, Andrea Vincent and Andrea Marco, are the leader of Camorra Mafia, who rules over the town. Days gone by and Robert heals his injury. he runs up the stairs to the church and meets with Collins. Later that day, Giovanni is enjoying dinner with his family where the Camorra members comes rushing in. Marco comes and asks Gio for a favor to go and ask for boats from the Somalis. He sees Robert facing him almost the third time and decides to have a talk. Robert humbly tells him to leave the place at rest because of its people, where Marco replies him as he is being warned. Almost had it there, but Robert is a trained retired agent. Robert does a pain compress on him with free hand, his command. Marco tells his partners to leave. He commands him to put his gun on the table and let him leave. Marco goes out, and out of his anger, he wishes to kill Robert. Robert comes in action, and again, he manages to kill all the members under a few seconds. In the morning, Gio and his team comes for investigation, where Gio becomes suspicious. Collins gets a call from Frank. She suspects the region as questioned by Robert when they met at church. She visits the local police department to gather information. This is Chief Barella. On seeing the file, he straightforwardly rejects on interviewing one of the men. Later she manages to make her call and gather her information from him. The local police raids at a house, killing everyone except their target. Meanwhile, at the Camorras, everyone gathers and remembers of Marco's death. Chief Barella comes in to meet with Vincent and tells about Collins' meeting. He, being the head of the department, tells him to shut down everything or everything will be spoiled. He threatens him being stupid would ruin everything. He gets his hand cut off with the command of finding out about Marco's murderer. Collins was about to leave the police department where he is informed about the Camorra. She goes to her car, meanwhile she gets injured in a blast. She is taken to immediate response and emergency, where Frank arrives, who will later continue investigation on behalf of her. In the night, Vincent takes Gio and his family again to the place of Marco's murder, calling out Altamont to answer him. He threatens Gio to answer for Marco's murderer. Meanwhile Robert shouts himself out to save the rest. Robert shows himself, comes forth and unarms himself to give a side point for the take. Vincent only is about to shoot him, until another bullet is fired from Enzo. As an outsider, Robert helps another race for their peace. The people comes forward to save him now. The Camorra plans to leave because of police's arrival. Vincent, back at home, plans to end everything at once and burn the whole place. On the same night, Robert sneaks inside Vincent's villa alone. He assassinates everyone and proceeds to Vincent. On the other hand, by a blood drop from the roof wakes Vincent. He looks up and a dead body comes hanging down, breaking the glass on top of him. He barefoots walk on the broken glass, shouting out, being scared. He comes out of the room and sees his dead gang members. Vincent scares on looking at his dead member's head place off in front of him, where he starts shooting around randomly. Soon he is knocked out by Robert by a punch. Vincent wakes up and sees himself tied up. Robert had poisoned him using pills. He unties him and he starts running away hopeless, and Robert follows him around. They both comes out of the villa. Vincent opens the gate and walks out in the streets. He gets hit by a car where he loses his little strength he had left. A few steps he walks later and breaths out eventually. And on the other hand, everyone is busy with their religious festival and celebrating. Robert visits Collins the next morning and leaves her the bag of money. Through Collins, the money from the winery is returned to an elderly couple's pension fund. In the end, Collins receives a promotion for her work and Robert celebrates with the locals after their team wins a football tournament. And there the movie finishes. If you found this video entertaining, please show your support by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. We have plenty more movie recaps coming your way, so hit that notification bell to stay updated. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Let us know which movie you'd like us to recap next, and we'll make sure to cover it for you. Until then, take care.